Hello and thank you for joining in on today's training. Heart & Solutions is a proud provider of CE-eligible trainings for our counseling community. This training may be eligible for continuing education credit hours through either the National Board for Certified Counselors, provider number 7376, or the Association of Play Therapy, provider number 21-645. To obtain CE hours for today's training, be sure to follow the steps in the description below to find and take your quiz.
For those of you that are joining us this morning, thank you so much for being here with UNITA training. Today's training is diversity in the playroom, play therapy books, toys, and games. Oh my. And it is designed to explore how culture and diversity should be represented in playrooms and in play therapy. My name is Dr. Colleen Grote. I am the Vice President of Therapy at Heart & Solutions, and I run our continuing education program, UNITA training. I am so honored to be hosting this training today. And before we begin, I just want to go over a few housekeeping items. Today's training is being recorded, and it is an APT and NBCC approved training. We are scheduled to meet for 3 hours today, so please take care of yourself as needed throughout our time together today. If you need to get up, stretch, go grab something to drink, please do so. Brandy is going to have some incredible information for you. We've got, like I said, a tiny group today, so please feel free to ask questions. Brandy has opened the floor to interject with those questions as needed today. If you'd like to place questions in the chat so that they can be even more anonymous, I'm happy to monitor that chat and take questions from the chat box as well. So for those of you that have not had the pleasure of doing a training with Brandy before, I'd like to take just a minute to introduce our guest today. And Brandy Guidry is an LPC-S and an RPT-S. She graduated in 2015 from Southern Nazarene University with a master's degree in counseling psychology. She works for Transitions, Inc. and provides therapy to children and adults individually, as well as family, with an emphasis on treating trauma through a primarily Adlerian lens. She is an approved Oklahoma LPC supervisor and serves as the clinical coordination and quality manager at Transitions, Inc., overseeing training for the agency and their internship program. She is a registered play therapist supervisor with a passion for play therapy. She also serves as the current president of the Oklahoma branch of the Association for Play Therapy. Brandy thrives and strives to establish healthy and positive attachment in parent-child relationships, promotes cultural diversity and inclusion in the mental health field. She is a certified facilitator for Circle of Security and attachment-based parenting program. Which is rostered in child parent psychotherapy, and is also a certified parent coach for attachment biobehavioral catch up. When I say you are in great hands today and in for a wealth of information, it is an understatement. So Brandy, I don't want to take up any more of this time. I'm going to hand it right over to you and let you begin.
Perfect. Thank you, Colleen. Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your day to spend a little time with me and spending your Tuesday morning learning about diversity and how to help it show up appropriately, compassionately, and ethically in your playrooms. Just so I can get an idea of who we have in our training today, if you would by raise of hands or like the Zoom hand raise, who is a registered play therapist with us today? Is anyone an RPT? Colleen is an RPT. And I would assume if you're attending this training, even if you're not an RPT, you do at least work with children, you have a playroom, you work with kids in some capacity. So our learning objectives today, we're going to learn about the Association of Play Therapy's expectations for being a culturally and socially diverse play therapist. Again, you don't have to be an RPT to practice and work with play, but there is a credentialing process that just gives you a little more accreditation and education, and there's expectations and criteria to meet to do that. We're going to define culture and cultural humility. We're going to address diversity in the playroom. We'll learn 3 multicultural errors made in play therapy that are pretty common, that a lot of people are actually making and not really even recognizing that they are. And my favorite part, we're going to discuss and share resources to demonstrate diversity in the playroom, in addition to reviewing the barriers that can, come up when trying to create a diverse playroom. So according to the Association for Play Therapy and their best practices, these are the expectations for being a culturally and socially diverse clinician. As play therapists, you shall actively and continually participate in a process by which you strive to, 1, become and remain aware of your own cultural backgrounds, influences, beliefs, biases, perspectives, and that's including but not limited to your own religion, political affiliations, gender, affectional sexual orientations, ability status, ethnicity, gender identity, expansion, gender expression, and race. Also, you are expected to acquire and continuously seek knowledge about how cultural backgrounds, influences, and biases operate in the lives of your clients. And lastly, demonstrate culturally responsive therapeutic skills. Most people do this. Most clinicians are doing this. This isn't something that APT is exclusively doing. And so it is a reminder that you have to be aware of yourself and your own culture so that you can more easily and readily and openly accept, explore, and be responsive to other cultures. So let's test some assumptions. These are some assumptions that have been made by students, unaware clinicians, people in general. And so let's kind of test your assumptions. Now, we are a small but mighty group. Let's see how we can do this. I know Julia and Emma, you're off camera. I'd like some kind of way to gauge your assumption. So if you're not going to be on camera, which could prevent you from getting your full credit per APT standards for play therapy credit, you want to either use your Zoom to raise a hand, just so we're participatory. Otherwise, I'll just be talking to myself, and that might not be as fun. Well, it could be fun for me. I don't mind listening to myself talk. So assumptions, let's see what you guys know. So these are basically like true or false. So unmute, say true or false, raise your hand, but let's discuss these assumptions. So assumption 1, food play items in the playroom should include familiar Western foods like pizza and burgers. True or false? Okay, you've got a thumbs up. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, that's true. I mean, you want to include what's familiar and adding to that things that might be unfamiliar. So having some other kind of diverse types of foods can certainly enliven and diversify your playroom. Assumption number 2, young children are too little to notice or be affected by representation in play materials. What do we think? Okay, we got a thumbs down from Julia, got an X, yeah. Yes. And why do we think that is? What would make that untrue?
They're very observant and aware.
Absolutely. Yes, it's never too early. Like kids are so observant. They are excellent observers. They're not always the greatest interpreters, but they certainly can observe some things. So it's never too early to introduce representation.
Brandy, I like that you put the word affected by that representation in there as well. So even if they're not making
Yeah,
statements or things.
absolutely. Yeah, just even by it being around, it doesn't have to be, necessarily part of their world exclusively or not. Assumption number 3, it's more important for toys to be safe and durable than culturally inclusive. What do we think here? Thumbs up, thumbs down, yay, nay. It's more important for toys to be safe and durable than culturally inclusive. What do we think? It might be trying to set you up. I don't know.
Yeah, right. My thought is that yes, we want them to be safe, because if culturally inclusive means that it's unsafe or dangerous, that could be problematic.
Yeah. I mean, this one is a tricky one because, yes, you want toys to be safe and durable. You don't want that to be the sole reason you exclude culturally representative materials. So it's not like a either or. Like you want to be, taken into consideration as a whole that anything you have in your office is going to be safe and durable, whether it's culturally inclusive or not. And so just being sure to not just, well, I'm going to choose safe and durable over this. Try to choose things that are both. Assumption number 4, all children benefit from a diverse and inclusive playroom, not just those from minority groups. What do we think here? Thumbs up from Emma, thumbs up from Julia, head nods. Yeah. Why do we think that is? We already know that they're observant. How else might children just benefit from diverse and inclusive playrooms?
It opens up their world too to maybe other cultures they're not familiar with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're constantly learning. It promotes empathy, understanding, curiosity, all things that can help you along your journey in life. Including books, toys, and materials that reflect various family structures helps children feel accepted. What do we think here? True, false, yay, nay, got a head nod. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's kind of the same thing, right? Like, if you are including things that, obviously you might not always be able to represent every single type of structure or dynamic, but the more that you do, it can help children feel accepted for sure. All children can relate equally well to standard toys like dolls, blocks, and toy kitchens. True or false? Okay, got some shaking of the heads. Well, why not? I mean, they're just toys. All kids can relate to toys, so like, why not? Why would this kind of be maybe a false assumption?
I feel like the words equally well make this tricky.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, because very rarely are things truly, solely, equally across the span of diversity, and also what exposure has that child had to play, what um, what does play look like in the family of origin, do they play. I was in a training once with a colleague, And I've used this antidote before, so I assume it's just blanket permission to use it for the rest of my life. So I will contact him like, hey, I used your story again today. But we were in a training together, and they went around and they were asking all the participants like what your favorite childhood toy was. And people would go around and say this and that, and then they get to my friend, and he was like, a stick. And the trainer busts out laughing because she just thought he was being silly. And he was like looking, and he was like, no, it was a stick. Like, I'm for real. I grew up very poor in India, and I didn't have any toys. So I would use a stick, and it would be my sword or a wand, or I would draw in the dirt. And this trainer, she looked so embarrassed after that. And so it was a great example of how play looks different for different people depending on where you're from and how things are in your environment and what you have access to. So you never want to assume that children can equally relate to anything, because it's going to matter greatly on how they play, what they've been exposed to, and what their definition and access to play is, for sure.
And they may turn those items into something else, right? So like a
Yeah,
block, I don't know, representative of something else that, they experienced or
absolutely. For sure. All right. It's not necessary to include LGBTQ plus representation in a child's playroom. Controversial. It's like, well, what would you include? Like, what do we think? Got a false there. Got a false there. Yeah. Why is that? Why would it not be? Why is it false? It's not necessary. Why are we thinking?
I think similar to the other conversations that we've had of children are going to need access to different things and relate to different things, and not having that representation can really shut down that process.
Yeah. You don't have to, try to cater to every single marginalized group. You would probably have a pretty chaotic playroom if you did, honestly, if you tried to have something for everything. However, when you can be mindful, when you be open, even if it's subtly, um, it's just helpful for that exposure, for that representation, for children to have access to coming to their own conclusions about things, and being transparent with the families so that they know what's in your playroom and not. You don't want to feel like you're doing anything sneaky that's going against a family's values or something. And that really, can allow you to know if you're the right fit for this family or not. If they are dreadfully opposed to the rainbow flag you have in your office, you might not be the right fit of clinician anyway. Go ahead, Colleen.
Yeah, I know you mentioned, some of these things too may be subtle inclusions and maybe not overt. And so especially thinking of some providers who maybe are starting out, and we know how hard it can be to amass a collection. Could things like this even be obtained by making sure that we have multiple adults of each gender in a bucket, right? Not isolating, quote unquote, families by certain.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely having, multiple options of creating different types of families. If you only have one set of figures, two adults and two kids, like you're kind of limiting yourself on representing maybe bigger or blended or diverse families. So yeah, absolutely. Neutral or generic toys are best because they don't bring up cultural or identity issues. Got a thumbs down from Emma. seeing a theme, right? There's nothing, neutral, generic. Oh, we'll just use that because we don't want to bring it up. Like if it comes up, it comes up, but we don't want to initiate conversation. That's not a very kind of open or inclusive mindset to have if you're actively avoiding things because you don't want to have certain conversations. There shouldn't be a reason for you to purposely, intentionally avoid certain toys or things just because you don't want to have a conversation about culture or identity. As a clinician, as a helper coming into this field to work with just people, it should be on your agenda to be ready to discuss anything, anytime, and be okay if you don't know the answer, and be okay if you're not familiar with something. You have to have that kind of opportunity for growth, allowing yourself to know that, hey, I don't know, but let's learn together kind of mentality. Couple more. Children with physical disabilities benefit from seeing toys or figures that represent their own experiences. Got a head nod. Yeah. Why do we think that is?
Again, I think for a lot of the same reasons. One, establishing a sense of I can be okay here, I can be heard and seen. But kind of going back to the stick, like often they'll create what they need and finding things, but also not having, not making them kind of have to create whatever they may need to represent themselves or people in their lives. Not that we can, again, not that we can have everything, but having some options and some things available.
Absolutely. I accidentally had a toy for a child that was not intentional by any means. I have a really hard time getting rid of stuff, and it was still usable to me. And so I had this one of those like bendy, like it's small like wooden dolls, and it had like bendy arms and like plastic hand, and like one of the hands had come off. I was just like, this is still perfectly usable, so I'm not gonna throw it out. And then just by chance, I got this little boy who was missing his right hand, and I don't know if it was the right, left, right, if it's the exact match, but he found this doll while we were playing. He said, she's like me. And I was just like, oh my goodness. Like, I'm so glad I did not throw this thing away, because sometimes we're like, oh, it's broken, it's not useful anymore. But it was still perfectly useful. The hand has just fallen off. And this little boy felt so good. You could just see it in his like whole body where he just lit up and said, she's like me. And even though it was, he was an African American child and the doll itself was Caucasian, it was missing that hand, and he resonated. And that was his go-to doll, his go-to thing when we did some of his play for the rest of our time together. So. And lastly, boys don't usually choose dolls in the playroom, so having only a few is fine. Yeah, same kind of thing. It's that assumption that just like, oh, well, no, you don't have to create your room specifically to represent one gender over another. It goes back to, you don't need to have generic or neutral things. Like, have a variety. You never know what someone might be drawn to. So, exactly. Congratulations. You guys busted and smashed some assumptions. You guys are all on the right track. And there's so many other assumptions and things out there. We just want to just constantly be aware of, like, what are things that I'm doing that maybe I don't realize I'm doing, or that other people might say, so that you can stay open and ready to be inclusive at any time. So what is culture? If you guys were going to define culture, what would you say? Like, what is like a basic definition of culture?
I might say like the customs or common practices of another social group.
Yeah. Boils down to, at least from the Merriam-Webster like dictionary definition, customary beliefs, social forms, material traits of a racial, religious, or social group. At the very most broad definition, this is what culture is. Christina de Rossi goes on to say that culture encompasses, in addition to that, religion, food, what we wear, how we wear it, language, marriage, music, what we believe is right or wrong, how we sit at a table, how we greet visitors, how we behave with loved ones, and a million other things. There's so many things that can kind of embody and create this definition of culture. It's anything that is representative of a group and their customs and their beliefs and things that they do or say or include, that's not only just specific to them, but just kind of define how they live and how they represent themselves. So it's very, 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 very large and expansive in nature. I don't think we could just pin down one exact checklist of what's culture and what's not. And so knowing that allows you to stay, again, open and able to be responsive to diversity because it encompasses so much. So some multicultural factors: race, ethnicity, worldview, spirituality, socioeconomic status, generational differences, gender, sexual orientation, lifespan development, disabilities, abilities. All of these kind of are factors to keep in mind when you are working. I just realized that that word's misspelled, so I was like, let me get off this page because it's gonna drive me crazy. I'll have to fix it. So some other stratospheres of culture: parentified children. That's a culture in itself. Eye contact, dress and attire, orientation of family backgrounds. Are they enmeshed? Are they disengaged? Like, what orientation, what style of connection does this family have? That can also be a cultural component. So we're going to do a brief activity. Hopefully you have access to a paper, pen. I can't make you do anything, but we're going to take a minute to kind of do this and hopefully share amongst each other our results. We're going to do circles of my multicultural self, and this is an activity you can do in supervision if you supervise students or candidates. You can do this with your client for their own self-reflection. You can do this in group work. Like, there's so many options for you. So what you're going to do is you just take a piece of paper, and I've got like on the side here this like image. So you're gonna have a big circle in the middle, and you're gonna put your name there, and then you're gonna have like 4 outward circles. You're gonna write one important aspect of your identity in each of those 4 outside circles. And then we're gonna tell a story about a time you were proud of one of those descriptors you chose. And we'll tell a story about a time it was painful to identify with one of those descriptors. And then we'll talk about a stereotype one of your descriptors might have and how you're not consistent with that stereotype. So we'll take a little bit of time to complete that. Ask any questions you have, whatever you need. I should have had some reflective music or something going, but we will make do. So just let's look at ourselves, to look at others, to be open and mindful and responsive to others we've got to, be responsive and open and understanding of ourselves. And it can kind of be hard to just limit yourself down to four aspects. There's so many layers to our identities. Um, so just choose the most important ones and whatever that means to you. Anyone ready? Is anyone willing to bravely share parts of yourselves? It'd be great if we all did, but again, I can't make you do anything. But hey, we're here, we're vibing, we're a small but mighty group. Let's do it for the people out there. They're not gonna see you or hear you unless you like identify yourself in some kind of way if that's what you're worried about. But again, when we can share about ourselves, it shows that we can be open and compassionate towards others because we can do so with ourselves. I can go first. Here's my paper. You won't be able to see it because I got like the blur thing on. But I'm Brandy. The four identifications I chose for myself were I'm biracial. I chose therapist, college graduate, and plus size. And so, a time I was really proud of one of these descriptors would be being a college graduate. I'm the only one on my mom's side of my mom and my siblings who even went to college. And truth be told, none of us even graduated high school. My mom didn't. She got a GED. She got pregnant with me at 17 and dropped out of high school. And then I was born, and then I have three siblings. Like life and circumstances that obviously I won't get into, like just happened. And I didn't even graduate high school. To be, honest, and I don't know why I'm sharing this. I don't share with a lot of people, but I guess I feel comfortable with you guys. I I didn't even finish ninth grade, honestly. I went to ninth grade, or was I in 10th grade? No, I finished ninth grade. I left school in 10th grade. So I don't have past the freshman year of high school education, but I didn't let that stop me. I got my GED. I, had helped my family bills and stuff and did all that and eventually went to community college and then took that to go to a university and then eventually went on to get my master's. So I'm very proud that what could have been another expectation of my family, because no one could do higher education, like I'm really, really proud of that. I worked really hard and I'm still the only one who even attended college. A painful time with identifying one of my descriptors, I would say plus size. Like I'm proud, like I'm comfortable with myself, body image and all that. That could be a whole, training in itself. But even if I like myself, it doesn't mean that it's not sometimes painful. Like I had a little boy tell me, he was like, "Do you want to know why you're not pretty?" And I said, "Oh, why is that?" "Oh, because you're fat." And I was like, "Oh, thank you." And I will tell you, it was not my greatest moment because I said, and I told his parent like right after, but I was like, "Oh, well, that kind of hurts my feelings, and it's not really nice to, say things like that." And I don't think he was trying to be mean. He was literally like 4 or 5. I said, what would you think if someone told you that you have a big head? Because he had a very disproportionately big head. And I was being petty in that moment. I will admit it. But I told his parent, but it was painful because you don't know how, kids, again, they're very good observers and they may not necessarily be trying to be mean to you, but that's painful. Like you never know how other people are seeing you. Um, but with that being said, a stereotype of, that kind of goes along with that is like, I am plus size, I am by medical standards obese, but I'm not unhealthy. I don't have like any major health conditions that are preventing me from, I'm not on like a bunch of medication. I'm not like unable to get around. So, um, yeah, that's me. Thanks for listening. Who else would like to share? I poured it all out, guys. So now it's your turn.
I can go. Um,
Hey.
let's see here. What do I have? My name's Julia. I also put therapist or LCSW. I put just young female. I put youngest in the family, like so the baby of the family. And then I don't know if this counted, but it was more of just a descriptor, an adjective. I put creative and crafty. Don't know if that.
Mhm.
Okay.
It counts. Absolutely.
And I was running out of things I was coming up with. And then what was the questions again? Something that I'm
Uh,
proud of.
a positive time, a time you were proud of one of your descriptors, and a time when one of your descriptors was painful to identify with.
Okay, so I think I am proud of being kind of like a younger therapist. I think I was really proud when I graduated and every day when I go to work and I work with a lot of kiddos. But at the same time, that can be kind of hard, even like
Mhm.
recently with parents. They can make you feel pretty small. So can that kind of go with both a little bit?
Mhm.
And yeah, so I feel like definitely recently is parents can make it challenging, but at the same time when I work with like my middle school girls and those are my people. So I feel very I don't know, proud when I see progress with them and we have a good rapport and good connection.
Yeah. So you're a young therapist, but you're not uneducated. You're not incapable. Like you're very capable in spite of being a younger therapist. Thank you so much for sharing. Who else?
Okay, I can give it a try.
Okay.
Okay, so I have my name is Audra, and then I have a female Mexican American as one. Um, I'm the oldest child of three, so that makes me a role model as well. So role model
Mm,
slash oldest child, and then I put college graduate as well. So I'm the first in my like little family to get a degree, and then a master's degree. Um, and so I put college grad, and then of course hard worker, and then also uh, counselor, right, helper, that kind of thing.
mhm,
And then story about a time that I was proud. Probably I'm gonna piggyback off of what you said, Brandy. Is just being a college graduate, right, and then going on to pursue my master's and then my LPC
mhm.
right after. So that's a huge thing. So probably
Absolutely.
proud of that. And then I couldn't think of something as far as something painful, but then when Julia was talking, it sparked something in me. I think I don't know if I would call it painful, but hurtful maybe. Um,
Mhm,
just the stigma with like our culture not wanting to always seek help, right? So
mhm,
that's very hard. I'm a mental health counselor currently in my school district where I live, but I also have a private practice outside. And it's something I hear time and time again, right? That my family doesn't believe in me getting help. So to me, that's painful or hurtful.
yeah.
Um, so I would say that was that for me. And then a stereotype of one of the descriptors. Um, so I didn't say this in my descriptor, but I was a young mom too. So I think
Mm,
being a young mom, I'm going to add a fifth one, but I think just being a young mom and, sometimes even that has a stigma, right? Young mom, like
mhm,
never amount to anything or, won't be able to do this and that. But I have a very close family that was very supportive. And so even as a young mom, like I was able to go through school and sometimes work two jobs, but I can now say that I'm here. So that's great.
There you are. Thank you so much for sharing. That's amazing.
I can share. So it was interesting, Brandy, as people were sharing it, kind of like you said, Audra, I was like, oh, I want to add some more bubbles. But my name is Colleen. And my original ones were that I put that I was a white cisgendered female. I am the oldest sister. I put that I'm a mom, and that I'm a cancer survivor. So for a time that I was proud, actually just the other day, a recent story, I'm a mom of 2 young girls, and we were sitting at my oldest daughter's softball game and talking, and my youngest is 6. And I don't know how we got on the subject. We were talking about our jobs, and my job is something I'm super proud of, and my girls know what I do and how hard I've worked. And she told somebody, she goes, my mom's job is to cook and clean. And I said, my job's to cook and clean. And she looked at me and she said, yeah, you have your other job, but you cook better than anybody in the whole world, and our house always feels comfy. And I went, okay, like my other job doesn't matter. Super proud mom moment there. And then I suppose a time that it was painful, October. I'm a breast cancer survivor, and October is not super fun because it's October and it's not pink and pretty. And so I think my descriptive stereotype too kind of goes along with that of I am a cancer survivor, but I'm not unhealthy. I was in the top 10% of competitive CrossFit athletes the month that I was diagnosed. I'm still super fit and athletic. It's a big part of my life as well. I don't have any genetic factors. I just was unlucky. And so kind of breaking that stereotype of like somebody did something to themselves when life just happens. So.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. No pressure, Emma. Are you going to share or not?
I will share.
Last but not least, go ahead.
So my name's Emma, and I kind of added to mine as well as I kind of like heard people. But so my first one was I just had family, but then I also added that I'm the oldest daughter. College graduate. I'm the first generation to graduate with my 4-year degree. And then I am a helper, a young helper at that. I mean, being only 22, almost 23, dealing with parents like Julia kind of said. And then just being a woman, I guess. So I think my positive is it kind of goes along with Julia's is being able to make those connections with like the middle school and high school clients that I see, especially girls, and just being able to like make those connections and see that progress. And then probably one of the times it was painful was just like the stereotype about being a woman, I guess, that probably all of us face. So I would say like I am a woman, but I'm not weak or dramatic or something like that.
Absolutely. Thank you everyone for your vulnerability and your sharing. As we reflect on hearing what we all kind of said, what can we take from this? What can we make of this when we think about culture and how it shows up for us in our worlds? What would you say your experience of this exercise was?
Even though we're culturally diverse, we have many of the same similarities in different ways, things we view or see, feel.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, you can use this like with just your own reflection or with others and students. Go ahead, whoever I was cutting off.
No, it's fine. I was just going to say too, Brittany, I think there were some questions of like, does this descriptor count or is it? And absolutely, right. And recognizing that those may be fluid. I think several of us were like, oh, I didn't think of that part of myself or this thing or adding that. And at different parts of our life, different factors may be most relevant. So I like what you said too about doing this with supervisees or in a group kind of reflective practice as well.
We can always, we spend a lot of time in this field helping others, and we sometimes forget how to reflect on ourselves and what meaning we have for the things that we have accomplished or that we want to accomplish or that we identify with. Um, and so in the PowerPoints, which I believe you will get, I've included the link of where I got this exercise, and it has a bunch of other kind of diversity activities. It's a little resource guide that could also give you some other ideas on how to process and be responsive in diverse ways. Okay, so moving on. When we're addressing diversity in play therapy, there's a couple of things to kind of keep in mind, and most of us are probably doing this. Um, you want to avoid the tendency of using traditional Western forms of therapy to kind of gradually assimilate clients into a dominant culture. Like, it is not our role to be like, oh, let's make you the most American person because we're in America. Like, we're just going to operate from a Western American standpoint to assimilate you into what this world is. Like, you want to avoid doing that. You want to believe that children's play behavior is not necessarily similar across culture. Just because two people are from one seemingly similar background or culture doesn't mean their play behavior is going to be the same. Again, play is going to be dependent upon their family of origin and their access to things. Play is a natural, spontaneous thing that occurs, but again, it's going to look different depending on who the child is and where they're coming from. You want to understand that the notion of universality in play can interfere with your ability to differentiate between pathological and cultural play variants. If you are lumping everything in together, like, oh, well, these kids or these things all have this in common in their play, so this means XYZ, you're limiting yourself. Again, you don't want to clump anything together. You don't want to put in the position that you can then not differentiate between the individuals because you're just lumping everyone into one assumption. You want to encourage children to express their feelings and thoughts about their cultures and backgrounds. And you know what? Some of them don't even know. I have I honestly, like, no one knows because she was adopted. But I have a client who's clearly biracial in some components. And I usually have kids pick a book at the beginning of session, like my kids 9 and under, because I love books. And so she picked a book, and it was called Black Girls. And I said, "Oh, Black girl's just a beautiful Black girl just like you." And she was like, "I'm Black." And I was like, "Oh." I was like, "I think so." I don't remember what I said, but she was adopted by a white couple. She was removed from this couple and is currently in um, foster care, and is being fostered by a white woman. And so she has no idea about herself or her culture. And I had to educate this foster mom because being biracial, like, we can have wild, curly, crazy hair. And this foster mom was not taking care of this child's hair. She would come in just looking a hot mess. And I had to educate this foster mom on the stigma related to African American children and appearance and messy hair, what that could, mean, and how she could be being viewed not only by her peers but by teachers. And so I let her know what products to get, talked with DHS, they kind of helped it, and luckily her hair is back in check because it was wild. And I was just like, and I did her hair one day in session, like, and she just felt like a little princess. We had made like a little salon and everything, and I brought my products, and of course I got permission and everything. But her hair was so tangled, so matted. And I was like, this is neglect. You're in foster care and being neglected. And so, long story long, because that's another training I'm working on, is addressing biracial considerations in the playroom that I will be doing eventually. But yeah, it's important. So you want to encourage children to express feelings and thoughts. This girl had no thoughts. It didn't even occur to her to think about herself as being different. And that's sad to me. That is sad that no one is letting her know. And so she got her first set of braids. I referred them to somewhere where she could get some braids, and she's just feeling like hot stuff. She's become very sassy since. And I'm just like, man. Be mindful that some cultures place substantial restrictions on direct expression of emotion in favor of more indirect or subtle communication. So it could be really easy to be like, you have to express yourself. People should express yourself. You got to show your feelings. You do. I had that backfire on me as well. I had a little girl. I hope you don't mind these anecdotes. Sometimes I find they kind of try to wrap it together. So if you're just like, Brandy, move on, just let me know. But I had a client where, I'm always telling, my running joke with kids is that well, you have to have feelings, or you have to show feelings, because if not, you're a robot. And I don't have a license to work with robots. And so it's just like a cute joke, and most kids think it's funny. But this kid was just like, no. And so, like, she felt like I was pushing her, and she flat out said, and she was an older kid, she must have been like 10, maybe 11, but she was just like, I'm not showing emotion, and you don't know what I've been through, and I can't show it because we weren't allowed to, or we would get in trouble. And I was just like, I'm so sorry. And so I really reflected on that, and I apologized to her again in next session, because I took time to reflect on it more. Because, yeah, we just assume that everyone has emotional expression or has a range of emotion, even if you're on the spectrum, or you have other cultural components that may limit your emotional expression. Like, you just have to be mindful. And I did not put into place that her family of origin really restricted children from expressing themselves in any manner. They couldn't show that they were scared, sad, mad. They were expected to just be silent and to not kind of, just be invisible, just to stay out of trouble and to not get hurt. So keeping that in mind is so important. Questions, comments? This is from Kevin O'Connor. Oldie but goodie. It's like, this information is 20 years old, but it's still my favorite source of information with diversity and play therapy. And Kevin O'Connor is actually one of the co-founders of the Association of Play Therapy. Okay, so let's talk about some multicultural errors in the playroom. If you need to, stretch, we're an hour in. If you need to take care of yourself, make sure you're doing that. You can't really be open to learning if you're distracted because you have a need not being met. So please take care of yourselves. So these are some common errors that even the most skilled play therapists can face. Like, this is not something that some newbie or some student or some kind of, tenured or seasoned therapist could be doing. Like, this is common across the board for anybody. So we'll review some of those now. So a number one error that seems to show up in playrooms when it comes to diversity is this kind of over or underestimation of culture and its meaning and how it's showing up. So without proper awareness, a play therapist can easily over or underestimate the importance of one or more cultural factors in a client's life. So what does that mean? Like, what are you hearing when I say that? What does it mean that you can over or underestimate the importance of culture? What comes to mind?
I think thinking about maybe a client and seeing them, or reading a cover sheet about their situation and kind of going, oh, this is going to be a major factor or thing that they want to address, and they come in and they're like, no, I wanted this thing. Can be a way that we easily kind of overestimate the importance to that client at that time sometimes.
Absolutely. Just because you have a young Black male client doesn't mean that, oh, they're going to really want to process and talk about and reflect on what it means to be a Black male in America. Maybe they will, maybe they won't, but you assuming overly that they do and you really kind of craft and structure your work around that may not be the best route to go. So you want to acknowledge the day-to-day impact of group membership on your client lives. Like, you want to be aware. You don't want to just be like flippant about it or not recognizing of it. But you just want to be careful, because in an effort to set aside cultural biases, some therapists may prefer to focus on the notion that all children are really the same. You know, they are, after all, just human. However, having that kind of mindset can easily trivialize or even deny the reality of a child's cultural identification. So again, being mindful not to estimate the impact or relevance culture has is just as important. You know, obviously, like even with like a group of sisters, they may obviously have like common characteristics, but they're still going to have individual differences based on their age, their interests, all of that, temperament, so many things. Another common error is differential failures. So without understanding of cultural subgroups, therapists may fail to adequately differentiate between and acknowledge a child's subculture. Like, again, we just saw the parts of our multicultural self. Like, we aren't just female, we aren't just therapists, we have other things that kind of, you know, are subcultures that we have. And so subcultures are cultural groups that kind of fit within a larger culture, but have like distinct cultural features that set them apart. And so, you know, youth subcultures, religious subcultures, ethnic subcultures, online subcultures, musical subcultures. So, some examples of subcultures within bigger scopes of culture: hippies, hipsters, punks, new age spiritualists, queer culture, emos, and so many more. Like, this is just like a very small snippet of examples, but remembering that there's so many layers. I didn't include it here, but there's a really great image about like the intersectionality of diversity and culture, and how everything just kind of like intersects differently for everyone. And so just being mindful, again, not to underestimate, to not differentiate, can really be limiting in your ability to be open and aware. So a child might be a part of several subcultures, and failure to adequately differentiate between and acknowledge those cultural subgroups could impede effective treatment. So a client could be first generational, socioeconomically poor, disabled, and part of the LGBTQ plus community. Like, they can have all of those things going on. The experiences and values of African American children who grew up in like a major city, like in northern US, is likely to be much different than the experiences and cultural values of an African American child who grows up in the rural deep South. Like, yeah, they're both Black, they're both African American descent. However, northern big city versus rural southern environments surely will make a difference on what their cultural values are and how they show up in their world and in the playroom. So again, being mindful of subcultures and all the different layers and intersectionality that might be in place. Differentiating between those and acknowledging it can certainly help you be more effective in your treatment and walking in diversity. Our third multicultural error is, in this one, I think this one offends people the most usually. It's subjective cultural immersion. And so failure to experience cultural groups outside of the therapy relationship can interfere with building well-rounded therapeutic relationships and limit a therapist's cultural humility. Again, there might be limitations in your role that prevent you from interacting with certain populations. Maybe you are from a town or a place where there's not heavy cultural representation, or maybe there's not a big presence of LGBTQ plus. Maybe your environment limits that. However, as a clinician, you don't want to limit your knowledge of culture to just being from your interactions with your clients. Some therapists simply become familiar with diverse cultures only reflected by their clients. Clinical populations are rarely representative of any of the larger groups in which they may be members of. So just because you're working with a certain population doesn't mean they are representative of the culture as a whole. So getting yourself familiar with different cultures outside of the workspace can really be helpful and necessary to keep you well-rounded and aware. Limited experiences with diversity outside the clinical setting can increase issues with recognizing boundaries between cultural issues and pathology-specific issues in a particular child or family. So if you're only basing your knowledge of something on clients you've worked with or fellow clinicians that you know might be co-working with, you aren't allowing yourself to really be familiar with the unfamiliar, as this image says. So you want to the best of your ability. Again, if you live in a very small place when there's just not a lot of diversity, I understand. However, this is a day and age where you can connect with anyone in the world at any time. And so allowing yourself to find creative ways to interact and immerse yourself in things that are different from you is really your responsibility, and nothing's really stopping you. Nothing's really impossible anymore. Like, you can find a way to find a Hispanic friend, an African American friend, a white friend. Like, there's no even if you're not friends, like acquaintances, like familiarize yourself, get out there, peopleize, socialize. That's what we're here for. Like, we naturally are able to connect and be with people, or we wouldn't be in this field. So let's talk about some microaggressions in play therapy. Actually, before we do that, because what are we doing on time? I am blowing through our information because there's a few of us. So before we do this, I think we are going to have an auction. We are going to, let's see, I'm going to give you $500 in theory. My fake money's over there, but I'm not going to get up and go get it. So imagine that I am bestowing to you $500, okay? And you are going to be bidding on values that you want to hold as a clinician, as a play therapist, as a therapist. These are the values that you want to embody. But you're going to have to bid for it amongst each other. And you only have $500, and each value costs $100. So you might have to be selective. You might have to wait it out. You might have a value, you're just like, nope, that's the only one I need, and bid your whole 500. That is up to you, my dudes. Like, you get to do whatever you need to do. So I'm going to hold up some values and we'll start the bidding. Again, you have $500. So are you going to like be slow and take your time? Are you going to skip it? You know, up to you. But these are going to be the values that you're defining yourself by.
So we don't get to know what our range of options for values are. We just have to decide one at a time.
Correct. I've got a stack of cards, and I will reveal a value, and you can decide to bid on it or not. You might want to hold out. And again, each value costs $100 and you only have 500. So our first value up for bid, and you don't have to bid on it. It can go unbidded on. Let me see if you guys can see it. Self-respect. Here is self-respect. If you think about yourself as a clinician, how important, how valuable is it for you to have this as one of your identifications? We'll start the bidding at 100. Would anyone like to bid $100 to take self-respect? Anybody? All right, we've got Julia with 100. Julia is taking self-respect. Do I hear 200? Does anyone want to spend $200 on self-respect? Going once, going twice. So to Julia, she is a self-respectful therapist. She has that under her belt and only has $400 left. Now, our next value up for bid, consistency. Does anyone here value consistency enough to have it as one of their major values when it comes to seeing themselves as a clinician? And what does consistency mean to you? That's another question. We'll start the bidding at 100. Would anyone like to take consistency? Don't see anyone jumping. No one's very interested. Nobody cares about being consistent. Out of here, consistency. We define that in different ways, and no one needs that to define themselves. The next value up for bid is spirituality. How important is spirituality when it comes to you and how you identify yourself as a clinician? Is this something that you need to identify with, have as part of your identity to really define yourself as a clinician? Bid is starting at $100. Does anyone want to take spirituality? Nobody. Going once, twice. Get out of here, spirituality. Not needed right now. Doesn't mean you're not important. It's just not important to our pals here. Okay, next value up for bid is learning. Do you need to be a therapist that's constantly learning? Would that help add value to you? We've got $100 from Emma. Oh, 200 from Audra. Did I say that right? Audrea? Okay. 200. Do I hear 300? Does someone want to pay $300 to be a learning therapist? Emma's thinking. She's scratching her nose. She's just like, nope. She's like, I'm out. Okay. Going once. Going twice. Audra gets learning for $200. She only has 300 left. Okay, our next value, passion. Does anyone want to bid passion? We've got passion for 100, Emma. Do I hear 200 for passion? Does anybody want to take some passion? Okay, no one else is jumping at it. Going once, going twice. Sold to Emma for $100. She is a passionate therapist. Next one. Security. And whatever that means to you, do you value security? What that means to you as a clinician in whatever way. We've got $100 from Colleen. 200 from Julia. Do I hear 300? Going once. Going twice. Sold to Julia for $200. She is a self-respectful and secure offering of security therapist. She only has $200 left though. Okay. Next value, acceptance. Acceptance. And again, and whatever that means for you being an accepting kind of person, for people accepting you, whatever meaning you make of it. The value of acceptance is up for bid. Does anyone want to bid $100 for acceptance? All right, Colleen, $100 for acceptance. Do I hear 200? Does anyone want some acceptance as part of their clinical identity? Going once, going twice. So to Colleen, she's going to be an accepting kind of clinician. Next value, connection. We've got connection. Okay, 100 right out the bat from Emma. Oh, 200 from Audra. Okay. Connection for 200. Does anyone want to go 300? Emma, you're going to go 3? All right, Emma, she's up to 3. Going once. Going twice. Sold to Emma for $300. She's only got $100 left. She's passionate. She values connection. Let's see what else she can get. Necessary for play therapists, I would say. Fun. Who would like to bid on some fun as part of your clinical identity? Is that a value you feel like you want to or need to possess? No. Oh, okay, Julia. I was going to say, whoa, y'all, what are y'all doing in a play therapy training? We got Julia for 100. Does anyone want to pay $200 for fun? Going once, going twice. Julia is now a fun, self-respecting, and secure clinician. She still has $100 left to round herself out. Next value is fulfillment. Do you need to feel fulfilled either by what you're doing? We got Colleen for 100, whatever meaning this is to you. 100 for fulfillment as part of her identity. Do we see 200? Going once, going twice. Fulfillment goes to Colleen for 100. Okay. Wisdom is our next value. Wisdom for 100. Does anyone want to take some wisdom? Like, nah, I'll figure it out. Going once, going twice. We don't need any wise conditions. We figure it out on the fly. It's fine. Happiness. All right, we got 100 from Emma for happiness. Do I hear 200? 200 from Audra. Sorry, you cannot have happiness, Emma. You're out of monies. Do I hear 300? Does anyone want to pay 300 to have the value of happiness? Going once, going twice. Sold to Audra for 200. Happiness. So to recap, Colleen has $300 to spend. Audra has 100. Emma has 100. And 2, 3, 4. Okay. And Julia has 100. That's where we're at. Okay. Still got a good stack. We'll see what's going to happen. Structure. Are you a clinician who needs to value structure to go into your identity as a clinician? No one seems too interested. Oh, Colleen coming in. She's going to bid 100 for some structure. Let's see, 200 for anyone. I don't think anyone else has any money, so Y'all can bid if you wanted the structure. Too bad. Colleen saved her money and she's got it for 100. All right, next item, next value up for bid is fairness. Does anyone want to spend their last $100? Colleen still has 200 on fairness. No one is taking it. Going once, going twice. Out of here, fairness. What about challenge? Again, in whatever capacity that means to you. Is it meaning that you're challenging others? You're challenging yourself? Do you value the concept of challenge? Emma does for 100. Does Colleen value it for 200? She's not biting, so sold to Emma. Emma, you are complete. Emma has passion, connection, and challenge as part of her identity. She is maxed out. She's on for the ride, seeing what else shakes out. So when you have your, you've got your 3 Emma, so you can be thinking about why you chose those, and you're going to kind of summarize for yourself your identity based off of the words that you chose. So you can be thinking about that. Next value up for bid is trust. Again, trusting yourself, trusting others. Audra wants that for 100. Colleen does not look interested in taking it. Going once, going twice, sold for 100. Trust. So Audra is complete in her identity of being learning, having happiness and trust. Think about why you chose those. Summarize your clinical identity based upon that. So Julia, Colleen, it's down to you. The next one is patience. Value of patience. Okay, Colleen's going to take patience for 100. Julia, you cannot outbid her, so you may not have it. We'll give it to Colleen for 100. Next, encouragement. The value of encouragement. Julia would like that for 100. She was first. Colleen only has 100 left. So encouragement is yours, Julia. And you are now complete. Julia has self-respect, security, fun, and encouragement. Think about how that flows into your identity. Summarize it. Think about why you chose it. We're going to share. So now it's all on you, Colleen. You can either say yay, nay, because it's all you. You're the only one who's left. Courage. Right now you have acceptance, fulfillment, structure, and patience. You want to add courage?
I want it, Brandy. Take it.
Okay. Easy peasy. Courage. 2 Colleen for 100. This concludes the values auction. I do hope you are satisfied with your selections. You bid on them. They are yours. And we will now take a few moments to reflect on why you chose said values, how they show up for you. And we'll also discuss if there's any value that you missed or had hoped for that didn't show up, or that you would want, but just didn't get to. So we'll take a couple minutes, reflect on that, and then we'll discuss as a group. Again, this is something you can do for yourself. Even I do this value auction with clients, usually older kids. Let's say adolescent and up. Kids aren't usually familiar with some of these words and the concepts of them. I want you to also put them in priority order. For the ones that you chose, what's the top 1, 2, 3, 4? Put them in order. and then we'll discuss. Who would like to share? Who's going to reflect first?
I can go.
Okay, Audra, hit it.
Okay, so mine were trust, happiness, and learning, and I prioritized them in that order.
Okay.
So trust, and of course, trust of my clients and families that I work with. My partner, because I'm a co-owner of a private practice, and then trust in myself, right? The things that I do, decisions, especially this year because I'm retiring from the school district to do private practice. So that's huge for me right now, trusting that I made the right decision, even though I know it is, I feel it is. And then the second one is happiness. So without this, I won't be able to keep doing what I do, and be a great therapist, right? So if I'm not happy with the work that I do, then nothing else will work for me. And then third, this learning, learning has always been huge for me because I love learning. And it's important to me because I need to stay on top of the latest research and studies in my field to support the things that I do to be able to support my clients. And in December, I'll be a supervisor. I'm just waiting for December to come. So also keep learning for others too, right? So that I
Yes.
do all the things. So yeah.
Fabulous. Thank you, Audra. Congratulations. You are going to be an asset to your future supervisees. I can feel it. Who's next? Who's going to reflect on them? Emma, unmuted. I'm going with her.
I can go. So I did mine in the order of connection, passion, and challenge. Connection being my number one because just over time I've learned that if you don't have the trust or rapport with clients, it's hard for them to want to listen and make those changes and for you to even feel motivated to help them sometimes if you don't have that connection with them. Passion, I just think if you seem uninterested or not like you want to be there, then it's hard for them to want to be there, especially those younger kiddos. Um, they just can read you very well more than you would want them to be able to. But and then challenge with clients and like clients and I being challenged as a way to grow, especially like older clients and teens. I feel like it's really important for them to feel challenged because that's kind of how you build that connection with them is like challenging them in certain ways. So
Absolutely. Thank you, Emma. Who's next? Julia.
I can go. I bid for self-respect, security, encouragement, and fun, and I think I'd put them in that order. And self-respect I went for because I feel like with especially little kiddos and actually older kids too, we got to practice what we preach, and also we talk a lot about like mirroring behaviors with parents. So if you mirror the behavior, then hopefully they will kind of reflect that as well. And then I did security because I just want my office and my practice to be a place that they feel secure enough to come to, and it's always going to be there if they need it, and that it's a safe place and they can feel as they are and show up as they are. Then I put encouragement because I think you have to have courage and you have to have the positive attitude to show up as you are, and be vulnerable and be yourself and open. And then lastly, I put fun because I don't always think therapy needs to be super sad and tearful. I think there can be a lot of growth and humor and making life a bit fun, to put it in simple terms. But those are, and I just try to incorporate some sort of fun in my sessions, I think every day, because then it'd get really too heavy and I just can't do that. And that's it.
Miss Colleen, are you wanting to share?
Yeah, I can share. So the order I was putting them in was acceptance, fulfillment, patience, courage, and structure. So I think for me, thinking about acceptance of those that I work with as well as of myself so that I can show up each and every day in the best way possible. Fulfillment is super important to me. I know there are a few others that I was like, but that feeling of fulfillment kind of drives the continued things like passion and being, and when it stops being fulfilling, it stops being for me. Patience, I often like to problem solve, not necessarily with clients, but in the agency. And so some patience to sit with things and let them without jumping to a fix. Courage to do new things, try new things, start new projects that may or may not end well. We always talk about starting new projects with bad ideas and starting with the worst possible idea. And structure. I do love me some structure, but I have learned to roll without it, especially in the playroom. But in other roles, keeping that there. I think structure for my clients as well, of knowing what sessions are going to be like, and for my supervisees of what to expect in supervision, and giving some of that security through structure.
Absolutely. And so what was it like for you in this process of having to, select things without knowing what was coming or what you're missing out on or what you wanted? How would you describe the process for you?
I didn't love the rules. I think it's hard to kind of have to make those and really having to weigh, is this one worth my money, or how much money, or is there something else that may captivate it, not knowing that what card was going to come up next.
Absolutely. And I use this with students and my candidates too. Sometimes when you feel stuck or you don't feel like you are doing well, or you're not being a good therapist, look at your values. And in the way that I'm operating, in the way that I am working, am I incorporating these values? How accepting am I being? How fulfilled am I? How much structure and patience and courage do I have? How much fun am I having in my work and with myself? How encouraging am I being? How much passion do I have? Is the connection still driving me? And if you kind of, weigh on like a Likert scale, like 1 to 10 or 1 to 5, whatever you want to do, so that you can kind of identify where you are overdoing it or underdoing it, so that you can kind of get back to self, so that you can kind of get back to who you are striving to be as a clinician. These are, if you're interested, I'm not I don't know who made these cards. I don't even remember where I got them, but they're just called the values cards. And they just got a bunch of cards with values on them. You can make up your own. You just write words. You can use this with clients to kind of see where they are. One game that I do when I'm not doing the bidding is I'll just give out like 5 random cards, and then they have to only keep 3 and get rid of 2. And then I'll give them 2 more, and they can kind of switch out the order, and it can really be a nice way to kind of see what people prioritize and how they're seeing themselves and what they're willing to get rid of to make room for something else. So all of this to say that when you know yourself, when you can reflect on your own values, as we've been saying, it's going to help you remain open and able to stay compassionate and inclusive for others. It gives you that space. So thank you very much for your participation and sharing. I'm just glad I had these cards on my desk, and I was like, oh, I'm going to do that really quick, because I was like, we want to make sure we are utilizing our time. So glad that worked out. And it goes to what we were doing anyway. So let's talk about microaggressions. And it's They're called microaggressions, but generally they're macro. They're big. They're not small in nature. They are big deals. They are of importance, and we want to avoid them when we can. So we're going to go over these. This is their microaggressions. We're not having to decide whether they are or aren't. But let's just discuss what might be behind some of these. Most of these are not said or used in a way to intentionally be culturally absent-minded or non-inclusive or flippant. It's just, you know, there's an underlying perspective that's not as helpful as you might think. So if you've used some of these, if you've had some of these, like, don't beat yourself up. We're all human, and that's what we're doing. We're learning here. So if we look at this first one, I don't see color in my playroom. All children are the same to me. What do we think the underlying perspective or intention of that is? Like, what's behind that? Like, if you are, what do you think you're trying to do? What do you think it really means?
Maybe just not aware that you have only that.
Yeah. There's lack of awareness, you know? You're believing that you're expressing fairness and equality, and you're just unaware that having that kind of mindset is actually erasing racial identity and lived experience. Like, it's not what you're trying to do. You're just like, hey, fairness, equality, I want to treat, you know, I accept everyone. I don't see it. You have to see it. It's important. You don't want to purposely erase racial identity. In the same way, you don't want to make it the only thing you see. Just because you get a minority client in your room doesn't mean like, oh, I see this person is of Native descent, so I am going to make sure everything we do is focused on that. Like, you don't have to bring it into the playroom, but you want it to fulfill and permeate and be available to you to have awareness of. So our next one, that child is so resilient considering where they came from. What do we think about that one? What comes to mind? What comes up when you hear this statement?
Do they not have any elements of resiliency if they came from somewhere else? Like, do they, or undermining the where they came from part? Like, what does that mean?
Absolutely. Like, it's intended to kind of express admiration, but unintentionally it's suggesting low expectations for this child based off of their background. It's like, oh, well, I'm so shocked that this child from XYZ could even do that. Like, you are wanting to be encouraging and admirable, like be admiring of it, but unintentionally you're kind of just like, suggesting that someone from a certain background can't be resilient, or children from other backgrounds aren't as resilient. So again, just something to be mindful of. Next statement. I love working with immigrant families. They're always so grateful. What do we think here? What could be an underlying perspective or intention? Seems pretty harmless on the surface.
It doesn't feel that way.
You're like, it's loaded. There's something behind this.
I think there's multiple somethings. Yeah, I mean, the overgeneralization and implying that it reads as like they should be grateful.
Yeah. It intends, again, I think, to express appreciation, but generalizes and overlooks diverse experiences within immigrant communities. It's like, oh, you're here, so like, yeah, of course they're grateful. They should be. Next one, I avoid using dolls with different skin tones because I don't want to make race an issue. Yeah, this one seems pretty like, hello, tone deaf much? Have you not been around? What are you doing? You think you're avoiding the topic, and doing so will prevent discomfort, but you miss the chance to affirm identity and inclusion. You don't want to just avoid things. We have to, especially in our field, in our position, in the job that we've chosen, we have to learn to be, or at least become, comfortable with the uncomfortable. You have to choose courage over comfort. You have to not avoid these things. You don't want to miss out on affirming someone because you're trying to prevent your own or others' discomfort in something. Next one. I was surprised how articulate that child was. Hello? What? Were they not supposed to be? Like, why are you so surprised? What is going on with you? You're maybe thinking you're giving a compliment, but you're revealing a possible hidden bias about language or intelligence expectations. And you might have to be like, where is that coming from? Doesn't mean it's coming from a like nefarious negative space, but something in your life, something in your experiences may have led to a certain mindset. And so constantly allowing yourself to reflect on where certain perspectives or statements are coming from is just going to help you grow. I don't think a child that young could understand gender identity. Same kind of thing. You're trying to prevent, you're trying to like avoid. It might feel protective and like developmentally cautious, but it's invalidating children's early expression of self. And whatever's going to be is going to be. Exposure. It's not like you're saying, here, check all this out. But, allow yourselves to not prevent things that just are part of normal social growth. I asked parents to speak English in session so everyone can understand. That one's pretty obvious. That's less of a microaggression and just ignorance on my in my opinion. But they're wanting clarity and communication. Fair, understandable. It does overlook cultural and emotional importance of home languages. Like, it might be uncomfortable. You might be like, oh, what are they saying? Are they saying that this therapy is horrible? Are they agreeing with me? Are they not? Doesn't matter. Like, if you need to know, put in place opportunities to decipher, but to tell someone they have to not use their native tongue is very limiting and not appropriate. I make sure to treat boys and girls exactly the same. What do we think on this one? Any thoughts pop up? Can you, should you treat anyone the exact same way?
No.
Huh. You might be, if you're engaging in this kind of pattern, you might be thinking you're ensuring equality, but you're missing gender diversity and individual differences beyond binary categories. So don't be exclusive, be inclusive. I prefer not to bring religion into therapy. I think it goes along with the using dolls of different skin tones. You're like not trying to bring anything up. You're not trying to cause any discomfort. You're trying to be neutral. But in doing so, you might silence children who actually use spiritual language or symbols in their play. You don't have to, overtly have things, but having things available, I've got like some books, and I honestly don't have a lot of, I don't do like sand tray or anything, so I don't have like a lot of symbolic things, honestly, but I do have some books for clients who may be a little more spiritually inclined, but again, making intentional, purposeful decisions to exclude things does not lend to your being an inclusive clinician. Last one, that family seems really disorganized. They must not value therapy. Maybe they're constantly late. Maybe they miss a lot. Maybe they cancel last minute. Does that always mean that they don't value therapy? What do we think there? What else could it mean? Anything come to mind?
They have things going on and other challenges and other obstacles.
Yeah. There's that saying, never work harder than your client. Yes, and sometimes your clients need you to work hard for them because they don't know how to work hard for themselves. They don't know how to do better, and so they need a little guidance. That doesn't mean you don't have limits. It doesn't mean you don't have boundaries, but sometimes we do have to work a little harder. This kind of mindset can attribute logistical challenges to attitude rather than considering systemic or cultural barriers. If it's a single mom with 4 kids and this kid's got to be here and this one's got to be there, and then this came up, or we ran out of gas, or the car broke down, or there's a number of things that could or, oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot we were going to do. There's probably or potentially systemic or cultural barriers, and being open to discussion and brainstorming with your client is going to help you figure out a way to problem solve, or maybe refer them to something else. Maybe you have to do virtual sessions, or maybe you just need to do bi-weekly. Like, allow yourself to kind of be mindful of systemic or cultural barriers that your clients might be facing, so that you can remain open and compassionate for situations, rather than just like, oh, 3 strikes, you're out, bye. But again, we have to have boundaries as well. The diverse clientele that play therapists serve has a variety of needs. So due to these various needs, play therapists need to have an understanding, and they need to understand and have attitudes that align with demonstrating cultural humility, including definitions and concepts related to this construct. What is our understanding as a group between the difference of cultural competence and cultural humility? What would we say the difference is? Is there a difference? Are they just synonymous? What do we think?
Competence, right, would be kind of obtaining information and kind of learning about other cultures. And the humility piece is that deeper kind of introspection and self-reflection of that, and like understanding kind of what we talked about a little bit earlier, of like some biases are kind of how we show up.
Mm-hmm.
Probably more than that.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of, as a society, as a group, as professionals, kind of veered away from the idea of cultural competence, just because there is just that big kind of learning factor. There's a sense of memorization that can be done. There's a familiarity that can be achieved by being, aware of something. But can you truly be competent of something that you aren't? Like, you can learn about it, you can know about it, you can be, but can you truly be the expert and fully competent on something that you have not readily experienced? You can know a lot, you can have a lot of knowledge, you can be competent in the amount of things that you know. And so shifting then instead to cultural humility, which is just, yes, seeking and gaining and obtaining that knowledge. And like Colleen said, going the extra length to be very reflective and ultimately just responsive. How can you be open and responsive and accepting of what you know and don't know? How can you be humble enough to understand, recognize that there's differences without putting yourself in a position of authority that you know all these things. I had this student, she was just like, well, she kept telling, and these clients were like, do not bring that intern to our sessions anymore, because this girl was just like, she just took over the session. First of all, she didn't even know this child, but she just kept going like, look at me, blah, blah, blah. And like, this family was native, first of all. And then like I'm telling her about how, not everyone makes eye contact based off of culture or family dynamics or respect issues. And she was just like, well, my best friend and roommate is Native American, so I'm going to ask her if that's true. And I was just like, okay, ma'am, whatever you say. And she was, I can't remember where I want to say she was maybe Middle Eastern. I'm not sure which country. I cannot remember. But she was just like, no, that can't be right. I know all about Native things because my roommate and best friend is Native American. And so she deemed herself competent and disagreed with the person who had the degree and was licensed and all of that. But it's like, hey, good for you, ma'am. You are fully competent in that. But obviously she wasn't. So making sure you recognize to be humble, walk in cultural humility, don't strive to be the most competent in any culture, especially one that's not your own. And then Gary Landreth, the grandfather of play therapy, the OG. I love this statement because it's true. We can have all the things, we can have all the diverse items and things, but you, the play therapist, is as crucial as the selection of toys, play therapy space, and skills used. You as a person. That's why we went over our values. Like, how are you identifying walking into this field? Like, what are you doing to be the best clinician you can be, so that you are open and available to be culturally humble, to walk in cultural humility, to be open and aware of being inclusive in the work that you do. So don't shortchange how important you are. Sometimes they say like you're the most important toy in the world, in the room. And to an extent, that's true. Me, I like stuff. I'm a tourist, so I'm very materialistic. I like stuff just because. But yes, at the end of the day, I have to remember to select and not collect, even though I don't really listen to that advice very well. I have a lot of stuff. I have 2 offices full of stuff. So let's get into the resources. Before we move forward, questions, comments, concerns about what we've covered thus far. I mean, I haven't really given you any like mind-blowing rocket science, like out of this world stuff you probably don't know. But thinking about the time we spent together so far, any questions, comments, concerns, insights? At this moment, how diverse do you feel your playroom is? If you were going to rate your play space, even if you don't have like your own office, if you just think about your materials, you think about the things that you have to represent cultural diversity, a scale of 1 to 10, how diverse do you feel like your resources are currently? You can hold up the number, you can type it, you can just say it. Emma's like 5.5, 6. Okay, Julia feels she's about a 5. Audra, Colleen, how diverse do you feel like your materials are? About a 5, halfway there. So if you think about what's contributing to that score. So Emma, if you think about this 5.5, 6, what about your materials, your space? What would make it a 7? Like, what's preventing it from being a little higher?
I think just more of the knowledge and like using more of these trainings just to get more of an understanding of how to broaden that. Just because, yeah, I don't have my own space, and so I carry a lot of my material with me. So just being able to research what more like toys and games and books to implement.
Do you guys concur? Is that kind of like the same place you are?
I think for me, being in very rural Midwest, just like having to actively search for diverse representation in toys and games and things, and like it's there, but it's not as easy. And so things that like get donated to our playrooms, or things that people, you know, like, here, you can have this, maybe aren't as diverse as they could be. And so it's making sure that we are actively seeking and selecting and adding those materials to the playroom. While free donations are great and we love building a playroom, they're not always resulting in a very diverse playroom.
Absolutely. So as a therapist, especially a play therapist, we should intentionally choose inclusive toys that capture diverse cultures, genders, ages, abilities, and so forth. The increased range of toys displayed in your playroom, in the work that you do, the greater likelihood that identification, projection, and processing can take place. Culturally inclusive resources should, to the best of your ability, incorporate values and spiritual and moral beliefs, gender roles and sexuality, diversity and cultural considerations, be representative of your client and families, and also be sensitive to norms versus stereotypes. Your selection of toys and materials used in the play therapy environment should foster an acceptance of multicultural contexts and components. As a general rule, try to include both cultural neutral and cultural specific toys in your playrooms, so that you have just access to the best of both worlds, so to speak. You want to the best of your ability, and again, what you don't have, kids will create. Like, symbolic play is just natural and amazing, and children's imaginations are there. So don't feel like you have to have everything. Like, you would have no room for anything, but you want to the best of your ability, have homes that are representative of all levels of socioeconomic families. Like, we get these doll houses, and how many of these dolls houses are like just huge, and it's like, who's living in this mansion? Like, no one has, like, you know, most of the time, our communities or the people we're serving are not living in homes like that. So when you can have various living spaces, it can be very helpful, or at least opportunity to discuss or create those spaces. Having dolls of various ethnicities, having healthcare devices to represent disabilities, you know, wheelchairs and crutches and casts and um, doctor kits and all kinds of things. Um, kind of like Colleen had mentioned early on, having multiple sets of dolls for use by children from households in which caretakers might identify as LGBTQ plus, or it's a blended, family of aunts and uncles and cousins and parents and kids. So if you can have multiple sets of dolls or characters, a lot of times, we can use animals to kind of replace people, and sometimes people exclusively use animals so it can be representative of anyone. Yes, and when possible, be mindful of, having opportunities to allow children to see themselves in the things that you have. And then you can also have like buried religious symbols as well. Um, this is from a child-centered play therapy perspective. I don't know if you can see this or not. I'll read off some of them. But it came from a study by like Chung and D. Ray about how inclusive or culturally mindful the typical toys of a child-centered um, play therapy perspective, how much it is. And so having like real life toys like band-aids, adhesive bandages can be culturally inclusive if they represent a variety of skin tones. When you have like doll families, of course, dolls can be culturally inclusive if they represent a variety of cultures, physical characteristics, and family structure. Same thing with like dolls and the accessories like furniture. Consider including furniture commonly used in various types of cultures. Um, Dollhouse, when you can have an open floor type, is very helpful. So that you can kind of consider the diverse types and styles of homes to decide which one to include in your playroom. Dress up clothes, having things that represent potentially different cultural groups, occupational roles, if you do dramatic play in that way. So you're having like firefighter, police, crowns, having all these things that, kind of represent different communities and systems, and cultural wear like head coverings. Cooking and food items, having a variety of food options from different countries and cultural groups can allow for cultural inclusivity. You might consider items found in different cultures, such as different seasonings and kitchenware. You might utilize unmarked containers to allow for greater like food expression. Consider like medically what kind of items are used in traditional, alternative, and complementary medical practices. When you have like money, you might consider using like unmarked bills and coins, or like having paper and creating your own ambiguous money can kind of help steer away from it being like Americanized. Like, if I have not seen any, I'm sure you could probably print some in this day and age of like having different like rupees or pesos or pounds or whatever else. But if you just have like Melissa and Doug has like a lot of like just kitty money, and it has like just it's colorful and it has like numbers on it. Or again, make your own. I've had at one office, I didn't have my cash register or someone borrowed it, and so we just took out paper and created their own money, and it had their face on it or their emblem, and so then that could be representative. Um, Phones. Um, some kids don't even know what a landline is these days. So we have one in one of our offices, and this kid was like, "What kind of phone is that?" Because kids now are just used to like cell phones. Like even a flip phone is like foreign to the kids of current generation. So having different types of phone can be helpful. Transportations like school buses, trucks, cars, airplanes, tractors, boats, ambulances, police cars, fire. Like consider using various types of transportation, and keeping the design simple. Having zoo animals, farm equipment, different families, different puppets, person jewelry, cleaning supplies consider like size and colors of like brushes and combs and, you know, creative expressive toys. Consider your coloring materials, your construction paper, your um, markers and paints and all of that. Musical instruments, kind of consider what instruments might be represented in your playroom and how different children from different backgrounds might be utilizing them. Um, some clinicians opt not to have aggressive release toys, but we kind of need that. You know, sometimes kids need to get that out. So when you think about um, kind of commonly used weaponry, like weaponry found, um, kind of considered what that might be. Like, do you have knives and guns and, you know, scary animals like dinosaurs, sharks? You know, you want to take that into consideration and be mindful and respectful of parents' wishes if they don't want their children playing with certain things. I had a African American father who had asked the foster parents not to give his sons Nerf guns, water guns, any of that. Um, and they ignored that. And so when he, you know, went for a visit or something and saw that he had it, he lost it on the foster parents. And then we had a mediation because the foster parents just could not understand why he was so adamant. And this was a time when a lot of police brutality was going on. We had lost like um, like Mike Brown and the young man from Florida. I can't remember his name offhand. I feel so embarrassed about that. But like there have been like young kids who were playing with guns, but then were shot because it was looked as real. And it was very important to this father not to have his sons play with guns because of the stereotype of them, of being gangsters or being like menacing, and because um, at that time and probably still today, honestly, there was, you know, just a lot of fear surrounding the use of guns in African Americans. And so after having that conversation, the foster parents were able to like understand that, you know, this dad wasn't just being unreasonable. It was very important to him. Having like toy soldiers, army equipment, all that kind of stuff. All of these allow for inclusive. Again, this is a big list. Like if you have all of this stuff in your playroom, good for you. Like you must spend $1 million. You must have a lot of space. So again, don't feel intimidated like you have to have all these things. These are just things to consider if you are collecting and acquiring things for your playroom. Barbies are more and more inclusive these days. They come in different heights and shades and sizes and abilities. Think about dish pans and cameras and puppet theaters. And are you going to have rags or towels? And do you have like a refrigerator, cooking things? What kind of stuffed animals do you have? A lot of times, you know, stuffed animals, kids love the stuffies, but kids are gross. Like I'm constantly having to wash or spray down the stuffies because they'll be holding it and just sneeze all up over it. And I'm just like, awesome. So a lot of kids like they don't really like. A lot of kids know what a watch is because they like, you know, have like little toy watches, but having like watches and things and again, colored chalks, different colored chalks and not just white ones, symbols, egg cartons, pictures, construction toys, masks, tools, noise making things, like all of these things are things that are useful to have as a play therapist and all meet kind of cultural expectations as well. In addition to like toys and things, we need diverse books. I love books. I do a whole training on using books in play therapy. I love using books. Like I said, I have my clients like 9 and under, we start sessions with a book. These are a few books that I have in my playroom. I didn't want to just put some random ones. These are ones that I actually have and are some of my favorite diverse books. Festival of Colors is really, it's a very beautifully illustrated book, and really represents a lot of beautiful Middle Eastern cultural practices. Fry Bread is a really cute Native American family story about connection, and it's really nice. And Words Between Us is about a boy and his Vietnamese grandmother who doesn't really speak a lot of English. Proudest Blue, about owning and loving yourself and the differences. It really celebrates her hijab. Dolls and Trucks Are for Everyone is a great book to let parents and others know that, hey, you don't have to genderize your toys. They're for everybody. Who Are You is a guide to gender identity. Our Skin celebrates different conversations around race. Soul We is a really beautiful book for children with dark skin, to celebrate. Colorism is a very relevant and important topic amongst many minority groups. Big is about size inclusion. The Day You Begin is a really good Latin Hispanic book of representation of characters. And then Anti-Racist Baby. I've gotten the most flack with that book being hung up in my office because uninformed individuals want to start a debate on babies aren't racist. And I was like, exactly. That's what this book is telling us. It's not about making your baby racist. It's about the concept that anti-racists are bred. Racism is bred. Like you can be anti-racist or racist based off of your breeding and your background. So these are just a couple of my favorites. How often do you use books currently in your practice? Would you say pretty regularly, not regularly?
I use them for my young clients.
Yeah.
Because I see as young as like pre-K, so sometimes they need that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it can be hard for older kids, especially in this digital age of wanting to sit and read a book. They're like too cool for school for that. It's just like, oh, I got to be on Roblox. And it's like, hey, you can still read a book. Like, it's okay. But yeah, just don't underestimate the power of books and what you can use, even if you don't read them. Like I have one girl, she literally can't read. She's like 6, but she reads the books to us and she just makes up the story based off of the pictures. And I'm just like, oh, that's what happened. And she's reading to me. So on Sunday she wants me to read, and Sunday she's like, I'm reading today, and she'll get in the chair and she's just like looking all official, but she literally cannot read the words. But there's connection, there's all kinds of things. But that's different training. Let me get off that soapbox. We are gonna watch this video then. I always include it, and I sometimes have time and sometimes I don't. But we've got plenty of time, so I'm gonna play us this video. We might not watch all of it because like at the end she's like doing a giveaway, but it kind of covers stuff that I've already said, but kind of seeing it and hearing it, and she kind of gives some resources as well. So we'll watch a little bit of this and then discuss together. And this is also a time if you need to take care of yourself, you could do that as well. Fast forward a little bit.
A few weeks ago, I put up a video on my YouTube channel asking for resources and suggestions from you guys, and you came through. So I'm going to share a little bit of what I learned. And I also have a giveaway that's sponsored by My Family Builders so that you can have some resources to include diversity in your play. Hey, you guys, it's Christina from the Purple Alphabet, and this is a follow-up video to a video I previously posted a few weeks ago on my channel. If you missed that video, I'm going to put it up here in the corner, so go check it out. But I do highly recommend going back to that video because I can stock of what you already have in your environment. Over on Instagram, I saw a lot of people doing this, and it was quite eye-opening to many of them when they took all of their books, or they took all of their toys and placed them in 2 separate piles. The diverse pile and the not diverse pile. and they compared which ones were less and more and saw opportunities in which they can even up those amounts. If you haven't done this already, you might want to try that just to kind of take stock of what you already have in your house and to see what you might need more. Second tip I have for you is to educate yourself. Take time to really do some research, to really absorb all of the information out there. There is quite a bit to go through, so I highly recommend taking that time. That's one of the reasons why I made that last video, was to get a whole bunch of resources from you guys that I could go back and take a look at for our family. So take that time to really absorb all the information out there. I want to give you 2 resources to get started. The first is an Instagram account, The Conscious Kid. It's a pretty popular Instagram account, and there's a lot of resources on there, so you can check that out. I'll put that link down below in the description box so you can go right to it. And the second is a forum, or actually it was like a webinar that I saw on PBS Kids. And the topic of this forum was talking to kids about race and racism. So those are just 2 resources that you can start with, both down below in the description box, but it is a good start. If you have more that you would recommend to parents who are watching this video, feel free to include those down in the comments too, so that others can go and check out those resources. And of course, also check out that previous video. All right, so let's get on to some of the ideas I have for diverse play. The first category I want to talk about is books. Since my kids are a little bit older, I don't have baby books to show you offhand, nor did I buy any, but I wanted to point out a few that I did find on Amazon that I thought were really helpful. I'm also going to put these links down below to my Amazon affiliate store, so you can go and check them out too, but they're really cute. The first is 10 Tiny Babies. This is a county book in a board form, which are great for babies, and I just love the illustrations. All the babies featured in this book are diverse. The second is Littles How They Grow. This one is a picture book with lots of beautiful images. And then another one, When God Made You, which is a story-based book for babies. Going on up to a little bit higher level, I wanted to do the early education age. I did buy a couple of these resources that I wanted to share with you. When I was looking at books to create a more diverse library, I really wanted to find a variety. And what I mean by that is a little bit that covers history, a little bit that has characters in present day, and then a little bit of picture books or storybooks, and a little bit of chapter books. So I'm going to show you what I found. This most certainly is not only ones that are out there, but this one is one that is called Working Cotton. And this one talks about a girl that has a family that works on the cotton field. And I did pick this one, interestingly enough, because I actually have some family members that worked in cotton fields. And so I thought this would be a great way to kind of explore our own family history after we read this, and to talk about that too. I do like all the illustrations, though. They are really pretty. So this one is just a storybook. It's also an award winner, and I will also put these below in the description box if you're interested in these little storybooks. This one is also a picture book, but I picked it because it's more of a modern day diverse book. So June Peters, She Will Change the World One Day. And this one is more of present day, talking about how this little girl is going to change the world. And of course, there are tons of resources that you can get for books that are more of a historical approach. I'm a big fan of these Who Was books. We did one of these for a book report recently, and this one is on Martin Luther King Jr. And so I bought this. This is probably your 3rd grade level, maybe a little bit higher, depending. Now, I did read one of these with my 2nd grader last year. We read it together, so it made it a little bit easier, and I found it really fascinating. They have tons of these books for different characters and history. So this one, I definitely think that you could explore this whole series and find some really good titles. So the Who Was series, I really do like those. This is an American Girl book. So this one's about Misty Copeland, who is a ballerina, and I liked this because it's in the storybook form too, but it's also teaching about Misty Copeland and what she did when she was growing up and becoming a beautiful ballerina. So it's more in a storybook form, and I thought that'd be really relevant to my girls who like to read this. Now, if you need something that's more boy specific, you can definitely find stories like that too. And then going along with just storybook series of people that are made up fictional characters, I found this series by Whoopi Goldberg, Sugar Plum Ballerinas, and this is a chapter.
And a lot of these books, I would say, are more like kind of prescriptive. You could gear your clients to reading rather than having them in your playroom.
The Adventures of Super Diaper Baby. This one is by the creators of Captain Underpants, which is another reason why I got it, because we do enjoy Captain Underpants in our house. And this one has a really cute, so cute baby here. And throughout the book, you can definitely see lots of pictures of him and his family. So I'm excited to see what this one's about because we do like the Captain Underpants series. If you have read any of these books, you have to let me know. There are quite a few out there, lots of book lists too. So if you have a favorite one that you feel has a diverse character in it, definitely leave that below in the description box. Of course, I'll put links to all of these if you're interested down below too. But I'm really excited to add all of these to our library, and I'm still on the hunt for more, so love them. Those are just some ideas, but I also wanted to let you know that I found a website with Coretta Scott King Book Award winners. This award is given to African American authors and illustrators that demonstrate an appreciation of African American culture and values. And what I really like is that it lists them all here on the website, but it also gives you the age ranges. So you can go and explore those. I'll also put that down below as everything else is in the description box. So you can go right to it and have a great resource to take a look at some books that might be interesting to your child. The next category of a diverse play is an art supply. Lakeshore Learning was kind enough to send me some of their people colors for the art segment of this video. I am in love with these, okay? I have had our own set for quite a while now. These are the people color crayons. They also have people colors in jumbo colored pencils. And so I like these just because they give such a variety of skin colored tones. You can find the color that you need. I just supply these to my kids with their regular set of crayons, and they can use them whenever they need them when they need a people color. And so it's quite diverse, as you can see here. So we have all different shades that we can choose from and find just the right one. And then the same thing for the colored pencils. And these are really large too, so they're going to last you a long time. And you can create some really great people with all of these colors. Lakeshore Learning also sent me this People Shapes project kit. So this is great. It's for ages 4 and up. And there are a ton of supplies in here. There's enough to make 24 people. Let me show you what it comes with. We get 24 chipboard people shapes. And these are all in realistic people colors too. So let me show you. Look at all of the variety. They're so cute. We love making people. We get a little package of all kinds of different colors and pom-poms. And then of course we have to have our outfits, right? So we have all kinds of different colored felt outfits. You can pick and choose which color or which outfit resonates with your person that you're making. And then we have some shirts here, again, in all the different colors. And here are some pants. We've got 24 craft sticks in this package. And we have some craft hair in 4 different colors. You can choose which color you want for the hair. Here we have some lips in little confetti form, and then some eyes, some little Google eyes. Package of foam shapes. So there's all kinds of different shapes in here, so you can add them however you wish. Package of different colored and different sized buttons. Package of sequins, and there's so many different things in this. You could probably decorate the clothes some really creative ways with all this different sequins. A package of feathers. Oh, we love feathers. This is rainbow colored letter macaroni. So how fun is this? Each little piece is a letter, so you can spell out the name of your person if you want, or maybe put something on their shirt. Stamped with a bottle of tacky glue, so you can glue everything on, which is super important. And then some little cups. So these are to portion out if you have a group of children and you need to put all the sequins in the cup, or you need to put some glue in the cup. And then of course, Lakeshore is always great at giving you some instructions and some decorating ideas. Little sheet. This People Shapes project kit is amazing because of the variety. You can make any person that you wish, dress them up how you wish, decorate them as you wish, and have a lot of creative fun finding ways to play with this kit. It's great for a group, or it's great if you want to create an instant craft kit for home. So I know a lot of us are distance learning, and some of us might be distance learning coming up here in the fall. So we get a kit like this, you're going to have an instant craft kit with all the supplies that are provided. And then once you make these people, you can also use them in a variety of ways and activities. You can do a lot of role play, puppet show. You can use them in crafts. Sometimes we're even asked to make people, famous people that we know about in the past, for projects in school. And so these would be perfect for that too. All right, we've covered books, we've covered art supplies. Let's talk about the toys. My family builders sent us these samples of their products that are very, very diverse in what they offer. I think these are excellent. First thing I want to show you are the all kinds of friends. They have actually a family set of these too, but I asked them to send me the friends so I could show you. There are 16 mix and match wooden blocks, and they're magnetic. So what we have are these blocks to make people in different kinds of combinations. So this is a friend set. So we have lots of different heads to choose from, and then they kind of go all the way around the back. We have both male and female, and then you can break them apart and put them back together and reconfigure them in any way that you wish. I wanted to take a new head on this one, that, and switch it out to something else. Over 120 different combinations of these, and then you have different heads, different middle, and different bottoms. Then you can also place them upright and play with them as you would maybe a doll, and you can break them apart and put them back together again. This set is for friends. They also have a family set if you want to check that out. This is also from My Family Builders. It's called the New Happy Family Game. Inside you get all of these game playing cards. And this game is about how all families are different. So each player will get 7 cards to start off with. So this would be, for instance, R7 as a player. Now each card has the family down here at the bottom so that you know what completes the family. Now each family is represented in a different way, and your job is to collect all of those family members, kind of like a game of Go Fish. And so you would organize them, see what you have. Looks like we have some partial families here. And so you say, okay, you have the daughter and the son. Now you're looking for the other members of the family, and you'd ask your opponent if they have that family member, or you would draw a card to add to your family, another green member. Once you have all 5 cards of that family, you say family and show it to everybody who's playing. And then the winner is person who has no more cards left in their hands to play. This game is showing that there are different types of families and showing diversity in those families as well. Then we have also from My Family Builders, the Mix and Match 100 wall stickers. So these are stickers that can be reused and repositioned, and you can configure them in any way you want. So you've got the heads, you have the bodies, there's one in a wheelchair there, which is kind of cool. And then we have all the different outfits that you can make your own family with. You can put these on a wall, or you can put them on different things. I think I saw them on the website, even had them on water bottles. I have a tray here that I was gonna try it on, see how this goes. We have this man here on there, and then we want him, let's have him with this blue shirt and some snazzy pants to match. And you can create a whole family that way. He was a little crooked on there. That's okay, because these are repositionable, so I can take them right off and put them back on. A great
And on a whiteboard as well.
Go kit activity, because you can put it on something like this tray and have it all right there for you. You can do imaginative play with these, and you can create them in many different combinations. Then we have from Lakeshore Learning, they sent me this Mix and Match magnetic family set. It's for ages 3 and up. There are 32 pieces in here. And of course, the instruction sheet to give you some ideas on how to play. We have these wooden blocks that have these painted heads on them. Looks like we have all kinds of different family members that you can pick from adults to children. And then even on the back, you can see the back of their hair, the back of their head. That's kind of cute. And then you also have the middle piece for their torso, and then the bottom for their legs. And these are magnetic blocks, so you can create whatever characters you want. Ooh, he turned around there. Yeah, because that's his front of his hand. They also stand up, and so you can mix and match whatever you like. I like that this one has really chunky blocks, so it's great for little fingers. So it's really easy to put together and to pull apart if you wanted to, and you can make any combination that you like. I do like that they stand up too, and you can have a whole family living together, talking and playing. And speaking of Lakeshore Learning, I do owe you a giveaway winner for our $50 gift card. If you watch my video on the alphabet activities, I was giving away $50. It was being Mattel with their Barbie line. They have this great line that really emphasizes all different races. And of course,
I went crazy with the Barbies, guys. I had to stop. I got so many
are really great
because it was so inclusive, and it just became too much. So I no longer do Barbies.
You might want to check. For the older kids, I found this game.
These are really great. I love these cards.
It's called How Do You See the World? There's several different versions they have of this game. Basically, we have 100 cards in here that have 500 questions on them. This one is the original edition, and it's called How Do You See the World? I'm including this in this video because I think it's a great opportunity to really have some discussions, particularly if you have some older children. So we have different categories on each card: reflections, relationships, aspirations, life purpose, and beliefs. There are some general questions in here. There are also some that help bring up topics of racism and diversity in here. There's a little die in here, so you roll it to know which question you have to answer, and then you would answer.
You can add these to card games, board games.
Through these conversations,
I really like these cards.
You're going to be able to have the conversation about our differences, about
my other awesome swords.
About when you were kids compared to now. I thought this was a good one to include, particularly for those older kids. If you have a wider range of kids in your household, this might be a good one to open up some of that dialogue and bring up some of those topics. The next category after toys is entertainment. Now, of course, we have some popular entertainment that shows diversity in their characters, but I wanted to mention two that specifically speak about racism. The first is the one that we probably all know about, and that's the Sesame Street Town Hall about racism on CNN. I had a little bit of a hard time finding the full version, but I have found it. I'm going to put a direct link down below so you can watch that. I highly encourage you watching it first and then watching it with your children so you know exactly what points you can talk about afterwards. The second resource I have for you for entertainment is a read-along on PBS Kids. This is Christian Robinson, who's the author of You Matter. He reads his books to children who are watching the video. And then I'd also recommend, if you're looking for a read-along to look online on YouTube, I've also recommended one of the Storybook Online channels in a previous video.
It's really easy for telehealth if you're using
books. The entertainment world, so if you know of a really good show, a movie that talks about racism or shows diversity, we'll leave that down. Now for the giveaway details, this giveaway.
Okay.
Hey, you guys, it's Christina.
Write down, Christina. Okay, so are there things that you already have that you saw that you could use, would want to use? Has you thinking about what you already have? You think about taking inventory? Is there anything that, what comments do you have on her suggestions on creating a diverse playroom?
I think it's a great intro of how it doesn't have to be intimidating. Right? There's so many options and so many ways. And like you said, it's easy when we see something to go overboard too. And like, I need all of these. And so knowing where they're at and bookmarking things and adding things as we're able and picking up those things in different ways really just makes it less intimidating.
Absolutely. Emma, Audra, any comments? Do you have any of these? Are you interested in any of them? Are there,
Yeah,
questions?
I would kind of go along with Colleen that like it shows you how easy it is to just find some like different things where you like someone who might not have a lot of experience with diversity in these fields that you're like, where do I even start? Okay, just start getting a couple different Barbies, or I mean, it's really easy to build up and kind of find things like that where some people might not know where to start. So I really enjoyed the video.
Yeah, because it can be intimidating. It's just like, oh, I want to represent everybody, or I want to do this, and like let go of some of that pressure. Like you're just not going to be able to cover everything, but really was hoping this at least gives like a start to anyone who doesn't feel like they're being diverse. I mean, a lot of you guys rated like 5, 6 on how diverse you feel like your materials are, and just there are small cost-effective ways to be culturally diverse in your work. So as I mentioned, you can take stock of what you already have. This gives you a really big insight into just how diverse your things are. So if you separate your books and toys and games into piles, like how diverse is your collection? That can definitely help you see opportunities to diversify your playroom. So some additional considerations in diverse play as we close up today. Cultural background of a child, level of parental involvement in the child's play, that's all going to dictate how a child plays with toys. We kind of touched on that earlier. Make sure to kind of keep that into consideration when you're observing play in session so that you can kind of limit flawed assumptions. Also, depending on the population you work with or where you live, visit like dollar stores and grocery stores within specific communities. Like it not only allows you to purchase inexpensive items, but it also exposes you to what things the child might have access to. A lot of times people borrow my stuff. I'm not seeing it. But I got them at the Dollar Tree. They're just these like plastic dolls. They're all girls, but they are different races, and they're $1.25 inflation. But like I got all of them, and they have like different clothes and everything, and I just put them, and they're small enough that I could just put them in like a little container, and they're like travelable. So you don't always have to have like the most expensive things. Like you can definitely get stuff on a budget. One way that I've collected most of my toys in my playroom is through like garage sales and Facebook Marketplace. Like you don't have to buy everything new. I would say more than half of my collection of items are used or previously owned in some kind of way. I don't have any big major items for sure that are just straight branded. So it can be expensive. So don't feel pressured to have everything like new and best and top of the line. One consideration for having diverse play that I think easily gets overlooked is sizeism. It's a frequently neglected element of multiculturalism mental health services. Therapists should be considering how size inclusive their toy and miniature collections are, and try to remedy any lack in body shape and size diversity. Those toys should be mixed in or just otherwise kind of included, presented without like organization. Don't like have all your chubby things in one spot, like bigger figures with the smaller figures. That offers equal access to different body sizes. Mix the plate food. So don't just have all the fruits and vegetables are here and these are the healthy ones and these are unhealthy. Like have them all mixed together. If you need to have them separated, but just watch the labels that you're putting on them. Some kids, especially socioeconomic status, may not have as much access to the healthy foods. There's certainly so many food deserts for a lot of families where there's not a grocery store within a mile. Like they only have a Dollar General or a gas station or something, and you don't have access to fresh fruits and vegetables and things. So keeping that in mind when it comes to sizeism. Additionally, you can address sizeism by more than just your toys. Making adjustments to support children of all body sizes to feel welcome and free removes barriers to your playroom's therapeutic potential. So size inclusive playrooms should consider body size and play materials that a child occupies or puts on their body. So if you are going to be a therapist that does like dramatic play and has like dress up clothes, try to offer a range of sizes so that all clients have access. The saddest thing is to have maybe a child in a bigger body really want to wear or put something on and it doesn't fit. You have to navigate that very gently, and it can really, depending on their experiences, really be a negative and hurtful situation. Also consider your furniture. Like when possible, have like armless chairs. Make sure things are stable. Try to have tables of different. Again, this is considering that you have a play space, that you have an office. If you are a school-based counselor, if you are a home-based counselor, if you are someone who travels, all of this is not going to fit. But when or if you ever have your own space, keeping in mind how even the furniture of your space can either be helpful and welcoming to children of all sizes is important, because I think it's an overlooked area. We just buy stuff, and then a kid may or may not fit in a certain space, and then you have to have conversations about that. So just keeping that in mind. These are a few products that I actually have. Again, I'm not like an ambassador or like um promoter of these things, but I didn't make time to take like actual pictures, so I did have to like Google pictures, but I do have these items, so can attest to their use. Hands down, one of the best purchases I ever made are these dolls right here. They're at my other office, so I didn't have time to grab them because I have two different offices on different sides of town. They're about 25-30 minutes apart, so I did not have time to go this morning and grab them. But they are dolls that come um, with wigs, and like they're short haired, so they can be modeled to be more male or feminine or masculine. So then you can have like tomboys or you can have trans representation. Like these dolls are so great. um I don't know if they're still like in active production, but you can probably find them on like eBay. Amazon might still have some of them. I know Walmart had some. There's about 8 of them. This is just half of the collection. But they come in different shades and ethnicities, and the clothes are where you can make them again more masculine or feminine, depending on where you're going with that character. And there's all kinds of different wigs and clothes, and like it's been really helpful to really address and bust certain gender norms. And I think they're called Creative World. I want to say maybe by Mattel. I can't remember, but one of the best purchases I ever made doll wise. Um, this here in the middle is Amir. He's just a little tiger, but you know he has a little phrase of "I am calm, I am confident, I am brave," and there's like a whole. I think there's only like downloadable content now. I think you can still find the books and stuff on Amazon. The creator of this series unfortunately recently passed away, and so I don't know um, how much available her items will be. She also had this series focus on feelings, and all of this is digital content, so that's great and accessible. It's very cheap, so then you can like print it yourself. And she has like these puzzle pieces. You print them all out and you separate them, and then the kids can like match the face to the word emotion, and they come in like different ethnicities and sizes. I'm trying to think if I have some of those cards here. What's that card doing in there? People are in here messing with my stuff, but it like has a wide range of, trying to see, I've got that blur thing on, different shades, trying to find the exact place to put it. I don't know, but there's different ethnicities and genders and all of that. Focus on feelings is very inclusive. And then Melissa and Doug, pricey, but very good quality and culturally diverse. Again, I bought them used. I've got this sushi set and this nacho set, and I have a bunch of other ones. I've got a burrito and taco set, pizza set, burger set. So having a variety of foods can be very helpful as well. This dollhouse, I think it's also Melissa and Doug, or Hape might have one also. I like this house, one, because of the neutral kind of colors, and also because the setup of it, like you can kind of make it like an apartment complex. It doesn't have to just be like a house. It has like this elevator in the middle. So you can really use this to kind of represent like different homes and not just like a house, because lots of kids live in apartments and that's kind of hard to replicate. And so I like this style of house because it can offer a little more flexibility in the floor plan and layout of a home. I also have like a smaller, like what a Calico Critters house, where it's just like the small little house without like all the add-ons to kind of account for bigger houses and smaller houses, or you can use it as a school and other things. This little book series, Team Super Cute Crew, really cute. It highlights some emotions as power. So you've got Keisha the Kind, Brian the Brave, Chloe the Calm and Jen the Grit. And they also have like little plushies that can go with them. And so they're diverse and they're a hit, and ones that I use as a 4-book set. So these are just some resources and things that I personally have in my playroom and have found good use of to diversify my space. So now barriers. I like this quote. You really, to be seemingly a inclusive therapist, need to be a millionaire. And the quote is, I've never been a millionaire, but I just know I'd be darling at it. Like, I know that would be me if I was. Me too, Dorothy. Like, I don't know who you are, but I would definitely be darling at that as well. But play therapy can get expensive. Barriers to implementing culturally insensitive materials include costs, availability, and space. There's so many options, like trying to accumulate all the toys and materials and all the things to represent all diversities can be very costly, can be very challenging when it comes to availability and space, specifically designing a play therapy room. The availability of culturally sensitive items, certain dramatic play materials, dollhouses materials, sand tray materials, some of that might be unavailable for use depending on the space you as a therapist have. So some methods for overcoming these perceived barriers, like Emma mentioned, education, arming yourself with different ways of learning and recognizing and having awareness of diversity and ways to diversify your practice. Purchasing materials personally. Again, that doesn't have to be brand new. It can be used or, previously owned. And of course, networking for ideas on uses, availability, additional resources. There's so many things that you can do digitally and kind of virtually these days, and just networking with other people to get ideas is another way to kind of overcome some of the barriers that can come along with trying to have a completely culturally sensitive implemented space. So that is our presentation. I think we're a little early, but not too early.
Brandy, thank you so much for today's training. I especially loved the circles of multicultural self activity that we did, and I'm already planning on how to implement that. And I think at one point during the training, you just made a quick statement, but you mentioned, we have to have courage over comfort. And I think that that's such a great takeaway from a training like today. So thank you. Like Brandy said, we can open it up for some questions, but I also just want to highlight that, as Brandy mentioned, she has other trainings. One of them is all about books and bibliotherapy. She's been gracious enough to present that one for us live. We have that one recorded on our website. I know Brandy also has several opportunities for trainings and lots of things in the works. So please make sure that you stay up to date with her and the Oklahoma Association for Play Therapy for other announcements I'm sure there.
Thank you for joining in on today's training. We look forward to having you join us again. Heart & Solutions is proud to provide CE-eligible trainings for our counseling community. This training may be eligible for continuing education credit hours through either the National Board for Certified Counselors, provider number 7376, or the Association of Play Therapy, provider number 21-645. To obtain CE hours for today's training, be sure to follow the steps in the description below.